Hi, I'm Dan Obashan, and welcome back to the Joy of Tennis Teaching. I get requests from viewers all the time about could I do a video on this subject and that subject, and I love that when I hear from you and I get those requests, and I will always get the videos done. But sometimes it takes a while for it to work its way up. Often there's a trigger. Like I've heard from a number of viewers over the last year or so about doing the video on doubles. And I've kind of put it off because I love doubles. And if I'm going to do doubles, I want to do a massive long videos on doubles, probably a whole series of them. But Roger Cochran up in Canada sent a request for a doubles video and some nice compliments about one of the videos he enjoyed. And what really made this one click for me was the phrasing that Roger used in his request. He asked if I could do a video explaining how doubles players could protect their partner. And that was such a great question. And I thought made me really think about it, and really made me think about what is the essence of doubles. I've enjoyed doubles since I started playing in the public parks in Massachusetts. I was the youngest kid at the park, and the adult players included me in their games, and we always had a lot of fun playing doubles. Now, as a competitive player in high school and college, you kind of focus more on singles, but I still always loved it when I had the opportunity to play doubles, and I had far more success as a doubles player than I ever had in singles. So, and then I started studying doubles, and one of the highlights of my coaching career was getting to coach former world #1 doubles player Sebastian Leroux. And although most of our work together was on parts of his game relating to singles, I got a chance to talk some doubles with one of the truly great doubles players in the history of the sport. So let's get into just a little bit about doubles. And what I wanted to describe is what I think are the three essential elements of doubles. Not the positions, not sort of the basic strategies. Those have been covered many times by many coaches. And PBI's coaching of doubles really wasn't that different from most good doubles. The principles of doubles are very much the same all the time. And I like to think of doubles as physical chess. On a chessboard, you've got the pieces, and each piece has specific rules for how they can move. Well, it's the same thing in doubles. In doubles, we have the players are in different positions. The server, the receiver, what we call the garbage collector, and then the most important player or the transition man, the receiver's partner. Now, those four positions, everybody will get turns at playing them, and they each have some basic roles. But I started thinking about doubles, and if I was going to build the ultimate doubles team, the first thing I would want them to understand is that the most important variables in this chess match are, number one, where are we positioned as a team? The second variable is how are our opponents positioned as a team? And then the third variable, and this is the broadest one, is the shot selection. And by shot selection, I mean the direction of the ball, the height of the ball, the speed of the ball, the spin of the ball, the angle that you're trying to create. Doubles, those things become much more diverse than in singles. You can really create a lot of interesting shots and positions. And to me, that's where the beauty of doubles is. When the crowd goes crazy watching a double shot, it's not because of the big, powerful shot like sometimes you'll see in singles. It's because of the excitement and the scramble and the save and the shots that go back and forth. So in doubles, our three variables are the position of our team, both players, the position of our opponent's team, both players, and then the shot selection. And we'll talk about a couple of different examples of this right away. And then, Roger, I promise I will answer your question. I was playing in a men's doubles tournament, men's open doubles tournament in Texas, the Woodlands, Texas. And I was lucky enough to have as my partner a PBI pro named Craig Lemley. Craig was a very good player, much stronger player than I was. But Craig was more of a singles specialist. He didn't play a lot of doubles, but he was the perfect partner for me because my skill set was more position and setting up my partner. And Craig was absolutely fantastic at finishing the ball at the net. He was a very strong player, and he was great at finishing the ball. So Craig and I pretty much cruised through this tournament. We beat a couple good friends of ours in the quarterfinals, and we really didn't have a close match until the final. But the final was a different case. The finals, the chess match switched. Our opponents had scouted our team out very well, and they came up with a strategy that we could not counter very effectively. The fact that I talk about physical chess is there's moves and counter moves to everything in doubles. So if one team starts hitting a certain shot, the other team has to come up with a counter move to neutralize that strategy. Well, I play the deuce court returning because one of my best shots was a very short angle underspin chip back inside out to the server's alley. Very difficult shot for the server to volley, very difficult shot to poach on because I was good at hitting that ball quite late like that. Unfortunately, in the finals, we played two very strong left-handed players, and they changed their serving position to what used to be called the Australian. Now I think they call it the tandem, where the server would serve right from the center line, as close to the middle as he could get. And the server's partner, the garbage collector, played on the server's side of the court, and he played a little bit over, right in the area that I like to return to. And what the server did for this team was hit a very hard left-handed spin down the center tee. Now, there's an obvious counter to this move, is I should have hit my backhand return up the line. The problem was I didn't have that shot. I couldn't hit the backhand return up the line. I was stuck trying as hard as I could to maybe lob the player at the net who had a left-handed overhead that Craig found out very quickly was not a pleasant shot to try to defend against. So our opponents held serve very easily because they had neutralized my shots and made me pretty much useless. And so all they had to do was win 1 point to Craig's side and they would hold serve very easily. We were still holding serve. The match had turned out to be quite close. There was only one break of serve in the match in the second set, and then we ended up losing in a third set in tiebreak. So the idea of that thing, our first thing, remember we said the first variable is the position of you as partners, was we immediately moved Craig from the most important player position to a baseline position against me, where it made it a little more difficult for that left-handed net player to put the ball away. We could sometimes get into the point with some lobs. Not effectively enough. The best strategy would have been if I had the skill to choose the right shot, but that wasn't the case, so we ended up losing in that final play. So how did I try to protect my partner once it became obvious that the net player was a very big threat? Well, my first thing was to change my partner's position to get him to move back to a safer place. The next one was I tried to hit good lobs on every return to try to get those players off the net, at least hit lobs high enough that we weren't in danger of being killed by the overheads. So that's one of the things that you can do to effectively protect your partner, is change the shot and change the position of your team. Another way to protect the partner is you've got to understand what the closest threat is to you. If you are hitting a ball from the baseline area, your number one goal has to be to keep it away from the player at the net. This is why even in today's doubles for the pros, which has really gotten ugly, there's so much baseline play and so many players just trying to blast ground strokes. You'll see one player at the net, but there's room to avoid that player. That's why we still like the traditional way of trying to get both players to the net. So your number one way of protecting your partner is to keep the ball away from the net player. Now, let's say you have a very weak serve and your partner's not that confident at the net. They're standing at the net, you hit your weak serve, and the receiving team hits a very hard return and attacks your net playing partner right away. Now, an obvious answer would be, well, I'll move my partner back. But that would be my last resort. I would try to go to shot selection and try to hit your serve as deep as you can, even if it's very slow. It's hard to hit, for club players especially, a hard backhand from a deep position hard enough that your net player cannot handle the ball. So that's another way of protecting your partner. Another way is understanding what makes your opponent's shot a great shot. I ran a lot of good doubles play up at Bighorn Golf Club here in Palm Desert, California. And there was a man in our club, Kerry, who was one of the best lobbers I've ever seen in my life. Now, he didn't have very nice looking tennis strokes, but he was a very skilled racquetball player and he played squash, so he had good hands. And he was absolutely brilliant at taking the ball and lobbing it over the net player's head and getting the serving team or the receiving team, if they had taken control of the net. Kerry was absolutely brilliant at getting the ball over his opponent's head, except when I played against Kerry. And the reason for that is I never gave Kerry a good ball to lob. What do I mean by that? If you hit the ball hard and deep, Kerry had good enough hands he could just bunt the lob over your head. If you hit a medium pace ground stroke nice and deep, Kerry could hit his great offensive lob over your head. But what I liked doing was I would hit a very low underspin shot short in the court for Kerry. That meant he had to get his racket down under this low ball and lob it from mid-court, which is tough to do for anybody, and it allowed our team to hit pretty good overhead smashes. So another way of protecting your partner and being effective yourself as a team is figure out what your opponent likes to hit. One of my pet peeves in singles in professional tennis, and for those of you who watched the 5-set French Open final, the Italian player Caboli ended up losing the 5th set because he does not know how to respond to a drop shot. There were 5 or 6 important drop shots that Zverev hit that Caboli just made a mess of. So if you're coming to the net to play against a drop shot in singles, if you hit the ball deep down the line to a player who's already standing right there in that position, you give them too many easy options. Easy options means you hit the ball to an area that you think is a good area, but it makes the shot that your opponent is trying to hit very, very simple. So the ways to protect your partner are the same ways as to win in doubles. And if you're going to win in doubles, you have to control the three variables: position of your team, reading the position of the other team, and choosing the right shot to hit. I'll do more doubles videos in the future because I think you can tell it's a subject that I have a great passion for. But I hope you'll go out there and encourage your students to enjoy and spread that joy of good doubles.